Science can't actually be used to disprove the Bible, and here's why. The last one is definitely the most surprising for most people, but the first one is actually something that's kind of right in your face, but really just overlooked. And that's the definition of science. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of science is the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation, experimentation, and the testing of theories against the evidence obtained. So right there in the definition of the word itself, you have an explanation of what science can and cannot explain. It can explain the physical and it can explain the natural, but it cannot explain the supernatural or anything that happens within a spiritual realm. It is, however, very, very good at explaining the why and the how behind certain things that we can observe here on Earth. In fact, while many people try to use science to disprove the Bible, it can actually help to prove a lot of circumstances of the Bible. It can prove that the Bible has not been substantially altered over time, and here's why right here. Science can also be used to confirm people, places, and geography from biblical times. Now, all of this stuff is super fascinating, and I'm going to delve way deeper into it in another video, but for now, let's kind of just get the idea. You've heard of scientific theories such as Darwin's theory of evolution, the Big Bang theory. A scientific theory is different than the way that we use theory just in normal casual talk. So a scientific theory is going to be an explanation of something that occurs within the natural world based on evidence and repeated occurrence. However, one really big thing about scientific theories is that they're subject to change over time, and you've seen this even in your lifetime. As new evidence is discovered, scientists will update theories, scratch old beliefs, scratch old evidences, and replace that with new. So this brings up one of the main things that is used to debate Christianity and the Bible, and that is the scientific theory of evolution. The interesting thing is that Darwin himself actually doubted his own theory. He wrote that if gradual transitions couldn't be found in the fossil record, then his theory would eventually fail. And here's the kicker. Even today, the fossil record still does not support the theory of evolution. One of the most famous events of the geological timeline is the Cambrian explosion. This was a sudden explosion of various life forms and changes. So in fact, one of the most studied events of the geologic timeline actually goes against the theory of evolution. It's been almost 200 years since Darwin developed this theory. Scientists have traveled to the moon, we've discovered penicillin, and we've even discovered the atomic nucleus, but scientists still have not yet been able to confirm the theory of evolution. Which brings me to the last point that I'm going to talk about in this video, and that's scientific fallacies. There are many occasions wherein science contradicts itself or the many atheistic views that are used to disprove Christianity. One of the really big ones is that a huge way of finding the age of rocks is called carbon dating. This method can only accurately date something that is up to 50,000 years old. Yet you can find published literature wherein scientists have used carbon dating to date things such as dinosaur fossils as much, much older than that, sometimes up to twice as old as that. So as far as the timeline of the Big Bang, creation, and evolution is concerned, scientific data contradicts itself. We're going to talk about that also much more in another video. But for now, there's 3 things that you should know. One is that science can't actually be used to disprove the Bible, but it can be used to support it, and that's evident in the definition of science alone. Number 2 is that science is based on discoveries and evidence, so therefore it is constantly changing. Evidence used to disprove a lot of biblical events is highly subjective and contains inconsistencies that even Darwin himself couldn't explain. The purpose of science is to explain the natural world around us, and it was never meant to, nor can it ever, explain what goes beyond our observable nature. Now again, I'm going to break that down in another video as well. I'm going to talk about all of this in other videos. I plan to make this a series, so no matter which side of the debate you are on, whatever you want me to break down first, let me know in the comments and I'll start working on that. Until then, God bless you all and have a happy new year.